to June of '09. I believe it was June 4th, 2009, because both you and I and Eric, we all agree that a firestorm was kicked off on that particular day, and that was when President Barack Hussein Obama addressed Cairo University and his special invited guests that day, and I've covered this on air half a dozen times, were the Muslim Brotherhood. Uninvited was President of Egypt, Hosni Mubarak, and there he really, at that '09 speech to Cairo, he actually addressed a religion, not heads of state. He addressed Islam, and most of us are in agreement that he gave a green light for the Arab Spring that would take off then in late 2010 and all of 2011, which led to the current crisis we need to talk about. That was the beginning, the very, very early stages, the formation of what we have today, now a caliphate, at least it's on its way, an Islamic State. You talked to some people in that region about this, is that correct?
Yes, I did, and I also think it's important for your listeners to know the Muslim Brotherhood is the idea and basis of the Islamic Jihad that we are seeing advancing across the world today. Their ideology fundamentally declares an allegiance to Muhammad, to the Quran, and to the pursuit of jihad. And the final statement of their motto says that death in the way of jihad is our highest aim. And that's exactly what we're seeing played out. And I have introduced legislation that would designate the violent Muslim Brotherhood a foreign terrorist organization. It should be. The United States has already declared Hamas, which is a franchise of the Muslim Brotherhood, a foreign terrorist organization. And we have declared leaders within the Muslim Brotherhood terrorists. We have also declared charities, the Holy Land Foundation,
that's right,
a terrorist organization. So there is no reason why we shouldn't declare the Muslim Brotherhood a foreign terrorist organization.
Right,
that's why it is so odd that our president would invite the Muslim Brotherhood to be in the front row at his first foreign policy address when in Egypt the Muslim Brotherhood was outlawed because of their violent tendencies and their stated goal to establish a worldwide caliphate. And of course, we're seeing that philosophical goal, a very real goal, now being played out in the Middle East.
Well, it's interesting that the fellow who crafted that speech, Eboo Patel, is a Muslim Brotherhood operative. And, you know, he was just the first one we found out about. And look and see who's speaking behind the scenes of the president to get him to say these things. But that was what was shocking to me when you look at the trail of the people that are behind all of this, that are working right inside or right around our government anyway.
Right. But Michelle Bachmann, you have paid quite a price for calling out the Muslim Brotherhood, and now you're calling out ISIS. But here is what you say. This is a quote from you, and I think we need to talk about this. This is in WorldNet Daily. This is a few weeks ago. You say it's important for Americans to know, because I want to talk about this ISIS, this so-called Islamic State. She said it's important for Americans to know that the leader of ISIS, Abu Bakr Ibrahim Baghdadi, was released by President Obama from an American prison at Camp Bucca in Iraq in 2009. And you go on to say, Bachmann, who sits on the House Intelligence Committee, said it became clear as early as late last year that Baghdadi was organizing a formidable army and becoming a serious threat to the stability of Iraq. And here's a quote by you, Michelle. Quote, even though we'd spent nearly $1 trillion on Iraq, we didn't retain even one Air Force base. And then you continue, so he began to have a field day and started a campaign of car bombings, etc., to demonstrate fear, send a political message to Nouriel al-Maliki, and that he could defeat them. And then you say, I'm on the Intelligence Committee. We knew about this threat. President Obama knew about this threat because we knew about the threat months and months ago into last year, close quote. So you knew probably back in 2013, Barack Obama knew back in 2013, late 2013, about this ISIS, about this threat, about this Abu Bakr Ibrahim Baghdadi. This is not new news to anybody, and yet here we are at the end of 2014, and hardly anything's been done.
Well, that's right. And this was a gross historical miscalculation on the part of the current presidential administration. Back when Bill Clinton was president of the United States, he knew where Osama bin Laden was, and he chose not to take bin Laden out. That had historic, tragic consequences for our nation, because bin Laden, of course, was the mastermind of 9/11 and of taking down the World Trade Towers and also the killing of 3,000 innocent Americans. And now now with Baghdadi, the President of the United States, Barack Obama, released Baghdadi from Camp Bucca in Iraq in 2009. And Baghdadi reportedly said to his jailers upon his release, "I'll see you in New York." At that moment, Baghdadi should have been retained. He never should have been released. Baghdadi began immediately reconstituting al-Qaeda. And I'd like to give you a little bit of background on who Baghdadi is. He is a man who is in his early 40s. He is in the prime of life, and he is the head of the Islamic State. But he was involved in al-Qaeda senior leadership for decades prior to this time. He was actually the number 3. Al-Qaeda's first franchise was in Iraq, and Baghdadi was the number 3. We in the United States military took out numbers 1 and 2, and so he was the remaining leader. He was also an associate of bin Laden. He holds a doctorate degree. He was born in Samarra, Iraq. He understands Iraq very well, and he believes in fulfilling the reestablishment of the caliphate, and he wanted to put that forth immediately. He also made a statement in early January, and it is to the effect that we are watching you and we are with you, and very directly we will confront you. And with Baghdadi, he has very intentionally stated that his goal is to defeat the United States and to bring about havoc in the United States. And that's why we need to understand that this is no longer about over there in the Middle East.
Correct.
We need to understand that this enemy has its eye and intention and plan on the United States and the people of the United States. They have declared war against the United States. We are at war. This is a religious-based war, and this isn't what we think. This is what the terrorists say of us. This is a spiritual war from their point of view, and what we are witnessing is nothing new. It is a continuation of the Islamic Jihad going back to the time of Muhammad, and those who are a part of the Islamic Jihad believe that this is their day, and this is their time, and this is when they will establish the worldwide caliphate, and they will kill everyone in their path to bring this about, to